Okay, so just real quick, basically just kind of walk through the UDIM setup. So here's the Walkman. If we go to our UV editor, here's the UV shells. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so basically here's how I have the UVs laid out. So we have like the front shell is by itself, the sides, the back, if we like look, there's the back, buttons and stuff. Actually, don't know. That might be the inside. I think I have some inside stuff. Yeah, inside, this side of the back. So I actually went a little liberal on the UDIMs. I probably don't need as many, but for sport. So basically,
There's nothing wrong with having like too many, right?
not necessarily. I mean, so this each one of these maps is a 4K map, and I did a 4K render, and I think it took like 25 minutes for my MacBook to render it. So it's
Oh wow.
it's again, that's kind of the beauty of UDIMs, is it's a lot faster because it's one material, right? So I only have two materials in my scene, and I have a graph down here. So basically, I've got a Walkman material and then a plastic glass. And this is the same map as this one, the glossiness. This looks a little bit different because this is pre Substance's new exporter, pre RenderMan exporter. So this is the setup with the old version converted. So that's why there's a couple extra little things in here. But pretty much I'm just going to take the maps. But if we come to, like, for instance, the specular map, and we look, come to source images, Walkman, maps, you'll see each, you see how I have like back. Oh, hold on. That's the wrong folder. Let's see. Texture assets. Nope. Hello?
Hello.
Hello? So this file is several months old. So I'm assuming I have them somewhere else. It's weird that it says that, but basically, oh, here it is, UDIM. So there you go. That was the old version. So diffuse, you see diffuse 1001 emissive, and then you'll see 1002, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Basically, what it's going to do is it's going to take, so if we look at this diffuse map here, right, like let's pick one that's a little bit easier to kind of spot. Okay. So here is the side, like the white, instead of doing like a white plastic material, if we come and we open this thing up, hopefully it'll go IPR on me. Everything should be still plugged in. Hello? Oh, hold on, hit cancel. You'll see that it's a totally different, in essence, yeah, it's missing maps. Let me open up let me just go to like a render of it. Okay, well, there's the fake advert, but see how the plastic is actually a totally separate. Let's see, do I have one? These are actually from, okay, but just so you can see, so it's got a lot of detail all in these maps, but instead of doing a material for the blue, it's a material for the orange, material for the white. It's just pulling all of the information. So basically one material was controlling all of it except for the glass. So basically all I did with the glass, which in this case was plastic, is I called in a second material just for the glass and pumped in the same glossiness.
So for glass, does it like have too much difference between other materials to make it separate?
Well, the thing is, the only thing is, so with the UDIMs, again, so with UDIMs, all of the other stuff is the same. So for instance, whether it's blue, so for instance, like the blue metal part, right? I wonder if I have this in a Substance Painter. Let me see if I can pull it down. I just deleted I just archived a bunch of stuff. But for instance, let's say the blue material, right? So the blue material is made up of diffuse color, which is like that cobalt blue. And then my spec map, which is my metallic map, is going to have 2 different shades of blue in it. So do 2 different shades of blue. It's going to have a roughness map, a map, etc. So you have all your different maps. The white is going to have the same thing. So basically, with UDIMs for the white material, it's going to pull up basically 1004. It's going to pull up all the relevant maps. So the diffuse color will be, white. Let me see. Let's see if I can find the Walkman. Substance. Probably not, because I just had to archive a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I don't have it. But if you look at the UDIM maps, what you'll see is it'll be like my cobalt blue will be here, and then in the next box over, it'll be like our white plastic. The reason transmissive doesn't work with UDIMs is because this one material is plugging everything in. So it'll apply the proper maps for face color, edge color, color, rough, specular, normal, even normal, all that jazz. But with glass, you have refraction grain and you have your 2, your refraction and your reflection that lets RenderMan know it's glass or that it's a transparent object. So we don't really have a map for that. I mean, in theory, you could use a like transparency and kind of wing it and kind of plug it in there if you wanted to try to keep it simple. But honestly, it's just hecka faster just to build a new material, set up your reflection, set up your proper IPR, IOR reflective index, and then just take the map. So for instance, like the glossiness map, and literally just plug it in. So it doesn't really matter, like in Substance Painter, I'll have to pull this for like Substance Painter demo. But for instance, if you look at Substance Painter, some of the stuff that's happening in the glass with like roughness and stuff like that, all the scratches, they're there in the glossiness map with the UDIMs. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and I'm going to plug it into my second material for any plastic or glass that I have. So it's all going to be the same maps except for one material has, basically transmissive properties and one does not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but again, instead of doing 7 materials, I can do it all in one, which is helpful.
Yeah, especially in my case, because that'll be very convenient.
Yeah, and that's why, like, when I saw your robot, I was like, no, UDIMs is probably the best way to go for you. For UV, again, because, you can set up, like,
Does it have to be horizontal or can it go anywhere in the grids?
Great question. It has to go 10 to the right and then 10 up.
Got you.
So you have to go to the right first and then up to 10, and then you can go up to 10. Otherwise, it won't see it. And then if you notice, really important with your UV shells, it's super, super important with UDIMs to make sure none of them even like sit on the border of your, like you don't even want them sitting because see how it starts to bleed into the next one. Substance Painter does not like that. So that's why you can see I actually scaled down a lot of stuff a little bit more to make sure I have plenty of border edges. Because if it's just slightly like this way,
you'll run into deformation.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it'll show up where you open a Substance Painter and you're like, what the heck is going on? Or you'll go to paint on one shell and then it'll show up somewhere else.
It'll just flip elsewhere.
Exactly. So you just want to make sure you give yourself, and you have giant maps, so you have the room.
Yeah, so that's another thing I'm excited about because this thing will need a ton of detail.
For sure. And then the last thing with that is just basically when you plug in your map, plug in your materials like you normally are gonna, It's just the only difference that you need to do is when you bring in your file name is to switch the atlas style from none to UDIM, UDIM Mari. And basically that lets it know, hey, there's multiple maps. And then, when you select, for instance, I go here, I select, I don't know why it keeps defaulting that. All I have to do is pick one and it'll pick the rest. So I don't have to load them all. I'll just pay, hey, I want Walkman High 110 diffuse, and it'll pick all the diffuse maps.
Nice.
And load them correctly. So it's pretty straightforward, but what's nice now, especially with the new Substance Painter, is you can actually paint across UDIM tiles, which is fantastic. So you basically are just getting a lot more bang for your buck. And just in Substance Painter, when you load it in, you do File New. Come on.
That's awesome.
Just make sure you turn on, File New. Just make sure you have UV tile workflow on. This one you can paint across. Legacy will create them all in they almost look like their own materials. But this one's kind of cool because you can actually just select. And then, like I said in that video, it'll show, it talks about making, the selection and stuff like that. So you can kind of mask everything and add layers and all that sort of stuff.